Chapter 280. What would Kishir have done? He wondered if Kishir, rather than himself, had been here. Could he have convinced Lorna and Micklin? Despite assuring himself that the situation was the best possible outcome, an unsettling feeling of failure continued to intermittently surface. Yudhir was fumbling with a piece of candy when he stopped, finding a bulky object that filled his opposite pocket. In the heat of the conversation, he had completely forgotten about the Petumat's tongue he had stashed away. He was going to show it to Micklin. Now it's useless. The chunk of tongue he pulled out was hard and black, looking like a charred piece of wood. He contemplated throwing it away, but he was too late in sensing someone approaching him from behind. Sir Yudhir, what are you doing here? Turning around, he found priest Lusan standing there. Despite his fatigued complexion, Lusan showed a genuine smile of pleasure at seeing Yudhir. I was just having a chat with the union leader. How about you, priest? I have just finished tending to the critical patients and had some food. Finally, I can breathe a little. Lusan, who had answered, then lowered his hand towards the Petumat's tongue in Yudhir's hand. But what is that? It smells rather unpleasant. It's a tongue I cut from a monster. What? A tongue? Lusan took a step back in surprise. Why are you carrying such a horrid thing around? You must know that the corpse of a monster is almost poison itself. I am wearing protective gloves, so it's fine. Upon seeing the black gloves Yudhir always wore, Lusan muttered. I see, but even so, you really need to be careful handling the bodies of monsters, even if your hands weren't in the state they are. Anyway, we are the only two here, so you should be more careful. In Lusan's familiar worried gaze, there was an unmistakable sense of closeness. The warmth he radiated was born out of a shared sentiment towards the only other person left with him here. Only then did Yudhir fully realize he was not left here alone. A sense of warmth began to return to his previously cold body. I see. Thank you. You are welcome. But what on earth are you planning to do with that tongue? Yudhir alternately looked at the Petumat's tongue and Lusan's face. He hesitated, wondering if he should speak, but then his mouth opened naturally. It's not for my use. I was wondering if this might be the reason our cooperation with the mages come to an end. Huh? Lusan asked again, as if he had misheard. While I was focused on healing, what on earth happened? No, let's not talk here. Let's go somewhere quiet and discuss this. Oh right, please tell me in our quarters. That would be better. Although he suggested this, Lusan, who had spent the last 2 days sleeping by the patient's side, didn't even know where their quarters were. So Yudhir had to lead him. Lusan, sitting awkwardly on the bed, clenched his fists and took a deep breath, only to jump up in shock when he spotted a blood stain on the floor. What's this blood? Did you get hurt? Yudhir recognized the blood he had discovered as traces left by assassins the night before. He realized he ought to inform Lusan about this. No, it's not my blood. It's the blood of assassins who infiltrated last night. Assassins? Surely you mean... Lusan's eyes trembled unconsciously as he mouthed. They were after the second prince of Nolan, weren't they? Yudhir nodded, assuring him that there was no need to worry as he had already dealt with the assassins who were now sleeping soundly in the basement of a nearby building. More importantly, there were the circumstances that Yudhir had discovered while following the mages to the magic spring. While Yudhir explained the things he had seen and experienced following the mages to the magic spring, Lushan listened attentively without interruption until the end. Finally, after he had finished recounting the appearance of the monster today and the conversation with Mickalin, the room fell silent again. Yudhir, observing Lushan deep in thought, gently broke the silence. The situation is as it stands, but you should continue with your duties. There is no need to be overly concerned. So, you're just planning to observe the situation until the commander and the group return? Lushan interrupted Yudhir's words with a soft question. His clear green eyes, reminiscent of tender sprouts, stared directly at him. Isn't that so? Of course it wasn't. Despite failing to persuade Mickalin, considering the unpredictable whereabouts of Baphomet, he absolutely couldn't stand idly by. He planned to slip away in the cover of evening darkness, heading again towards the magic spring, and it seemed as though Lushan had read his mind, nodding in affirmation. I thought as much. I plan to visit the magic spring tonight. I can't leave a monster that absorbs magic roaming around. You will go even if I advise against it due to the danger, won't you? Yes. Upon hearing the firm response, Lushan's expression grew serious. I thought so, after hearing Mia's story, but as expected, you're uncompromising when it comes to doing what you believe is right. Ah, don't get me wrong, that's a compliment. Compromise. Considering his relationship with the mages, it might have been wiser to compromise and patiently wait for a night. However, as the only person who knew about the potential danger Baphomet might bring to this world, Yudhir absolutely couldn't do that. There is no guarantee that the result of compromise won't lead to a future similar to my previous life. As he fell silent with these thoughts, Lushan scratched under his chin and cast his gaze downward. I have seen and heard things while treating the injured mages here. That's why I think I understand why the head of this place had stepped back. I have never seen people who are as dedicated to their research as the people here. But I don't think you need to step back because of that. The reason the cavalry came this far is to help the many people who might be suffering due to the monster outbreaks in the West, isn't it? What you are trying to do now is also for that. Lushan met Yudhir's gaze with a resolute look in his eyes. In truth, after hearing your speculation, Sir Yudhir, I was reminded of a verse from chapter 1 of the sacred text. As you know, the text teaches the fairness of light, always warning against any disturbances to balance. Would it not be natural for the other side to react in response when one side of the heavenly scales wavers? It might not be strange to think that the unsettling of the balance of the magic spring that had been present for a long time could result in such consequences. Yudhir's eyes widened slightly. The idea that the disturbance of the magic spring balance had led to these results intriguingly stimulated his senses. It was a frustrating feeling, as though the answer was just out of reach. And now, I too am part of the cavalry. How could I not be concerned? If there is any way I can help, of course, I will do my part. Just let me know. Lushan, who had added these words with a hint of embarrassment, wore a determined expression. Yudhir found this unfamiliar, creating a strange sensation as he looked up Lushan's face. Priest Lushan was someone he had never encountered in his past life. He had chanced upon him during a plan to topple the Apetho family, and his exceptional divine power caught the attention of Kishir, leading to his appointment. After joining the medical division, he had often received praise for getting along with Anon and the other members, unlike his previous haughty demeanor as a member of the temple of the sun god. Ydir had never paid much attention to Lusan in his past life, as he had never met him. But in contrast, the fact that Lusan, who had no previous association with him, unreservedly trusted him as a comrade from the same unit made him acutely aware of the difference between his past life and the present. As his self-doubt and anxiety faded away, his mind seemed to function more efficiently than before. Gathering his thoughts, he expressed his gratitude to Lusan. "Thank you. Even your words just now could be of great help." "Ah, no, it's not as though I have said anything particularly insightful." "No, you're mistaken. If you, priest, had not been consistently dedicated in helping the Union mages here, we wouldn't have been able to get this far in the first place." At those words, Lusan's cheeks flushed momentarily. He scratched his head, avoiding Ydir's gaze. "Well, it's embarrassing to hear you say that. In truth, I wasn't particularly altruistic or anything. I used to be criticized at the temple for not acting like a proper priest. If I appeared dedicated, it was only because I wanted to be helpful in your mission." Lusan's face, as he softly confessed that he had felt nervous about sounding presumptuous, having recently joined as a priest, was overflowing with happy emotions. "So, please tell me if there is anything real I can help with, quickly." Looking at Lusan's eager face, Ydir took a moment to contemplate. The young priest didn't seem like he would back down. Lusan, too, was now a member of the cavalry, so why should he exclude a colleague and make things difficult for himself? While he couldn't bring the young priest, who seemed not to have fully adapted to the energy of the great serene forest outside, there was plenty he could do inside. For instance, "Understood. For today, could you help me keep the fact that I have been going in and out a secret? And if possible, could you inquire about the research being conducted in the Western Mage Union among the other mages? Is that something you could do?" "I can, but is that all you need?" Ydir gave a small nod. "Consider whether there might be more I can assist with before you depart. Oh, and before that, please have your hand healed just in case."